Welcome everyone to another Dig Live main session call. It is Monday, and I am Joachim Stroh, your host today for this on. Yes, do we have any? Yeah. Okay. Let me talk about some issues, some topics for today's meeting. And Eric, you had some topics too, and anybody else who wants to jump in with additional topics here. So my three topics for today are, since Roy is on the call, I want to talk a little bit about web content publishing, where we are, where we're going next in terms of the content and building the website. And the other one related to that is newsletter publishing. I saw Roy put together a nice template using CiviCRM, and that embedded or I don't know where it's located, if that's part of CiviCRM or a separate tool. If you can tell us more about that, and more importantly, how we designed this whole newsletter publishing process, right? So it is open for anyone to sort of participate in some way, right? With more content that we're publishing out on these weekly newsletters or bi-weekly. So that's one topic. The other one is the sign-up process. Graham has done some good work now on putting together the first form, official sign-up form using CiviCRM and WordPress, and he has demoed that. So I wanted to show you the sort of the flow of the sign-up process, and we can talk about that. Unfortunately, I don't see Graham on the call today, right? See there? Let me see. No. But so we don't get into more details of that. And then since the CAS discussions came up a couple of times last week, cooperation as a service. What are the next steps here? Where are we taking this? What do we do with the existing domains? Maybe that's a good topic here to talk about that too. Does that sound good? Yes, okay. So the first one is web content publishing. So we're starting to put together sort of the next version of the website, right? And we currently have that done in Code Sandbox. Yeah, let me share a quick share of my screen here. Don't want to go into too many details here, but just to give you an idea how that looks like. So here's Code Sandbox. We have a shared area for shared sandboxes, and one of them here is for the website. So this is where actually the raw HTML sits, and we can go in here and make any modifications to the website. So this gives us maximum flexibility to actually embed some additional functions, features on the website if you want to do that, like some JavaScript scripts running there, some dynamic menu creation, and some different ways to structure the different sections of the website, right? So this is all based on a single HTML5 template, and we're still working on that text and the template too. So I'm making some modifications here. So the other thing that I'm looking at is a tool called Graph, and I don't know if you've seen that, Jim. I wanted to get that up and running on Cloudron. Because that might be another way to do more structured page-based publishing. I'm not so familiar with Graph. I know David has done some work there. And I'm not sure if it fits into our content publishing model here. So that's to be seen, but I like to get it up and running. It seems like a very quick process. It's PHP-based, so we can just put it on either the existing or a new, maybe it's better a new PHP instance. Boot that up and then add the code base to get the graph thing up and running there. So I don't know. I tried it, Jim. I think there was one missing step there. I didn't complete that, but it seems fairly easy to install. And I just wanted to compare that to the current way of publishing it here through an HTML5 template, which is probably the way to go for now.
What channel is that?
I think I posted it in sysadmin. I'll send you a link again later. but I think sysadmin. I'll confirm that with you later. There's a link. There's actually a step-by-step instruction. It's like 5 or 6 lines to install that on the CloudRun instance. Seems fairly straightforward, but obviously I'm missing some step there. So that's this, and we're working on the content. As I mentioned, let me show you a quick thing here, which is different parts of what's called the partner delegate protocol. So we have this document here, which is the introduction of the partner delegate protocol. If we want no groups, no organizations to join Dig Live, here's some initial documentation, what it is, and how to get started with creating maybe a first channel, joining Dig Live and creating a channel to explore what we're doing here, right? That was step 1, and then right now we have step 2, which is fairly complete. This explains more what CAS is in 3 short paragraphs here. And then gets into the whys. Why would you want to use something like CAS for your organization, right? And then we have listed a couple of items here, each one very short, very concise, and thanks to you, Roy, for keeping that short and sweet. So these are all sort of bullet point type, quick reasons why you would want to join a 21st century Dig Live conversation here, right? So that's part 2. And then I am currently working on another part, which is part 3 of this partner delegate protocol. And this gets into the hows. So this is really, so after you understand the whys and what this is, so tell me a little bit more about what would I get out of a basic sort of CAS service agreement if I would join Dig Live. So here I've listed 6 kind of services for now. There will be more. This is just the beginning here of a set of what I call basic services, which includes the holonic mapping for your organization, the network and skills mapping. That's the chart with all the members and the connections between them and showing you what skill sets they have and how they're connected. Then obviously there's a team chat and collaboration, which is the MetaMost space. There's shared document filing, so that's the Google space, Google Drive. And then there's shared calendaring, which is again Google, the Google Calendar. And then last one is collaborative note-taking, which is this tool here, right, CodeMD, for the note-taking service. I'm thinking to add one more here before this becomes sort of the official list for CAS services, which is bookmarking, shared bookmarking or social bookmarking, using Wallaback, which is another tool we installed on MetaMost. I have to figure out how to best share that tool because you do need an account to log in. Maybe it's a shared account, and then you need an extension on your browser to easily bookmark any websites or articles we have. But that would be a tool that I like to see because we have a lot of articles we share in MetaMost, and they're just going through the streams and they're gone very quickly, right? So rather put them in one place, and then you can tag them, you can comment on them, and you can find them again, right? So that'd be a good service, I think, for this CAS set of services. So I'm fleshing this out now. I wrote about the first one here, the holonic organization mapping, what it is and why it's good to see organization in that way. Next one is the skills mapping, and then the other tools here. So some more detail behind what it is and what the hows are behind that CAS service. And Roy, I'm not sure how much of that will go up on the website, right? Again, this is a rough outline. Probably you want to go in there and then cut it down to the essence of what it is. And then we can use that as the content to push it out to the new website, right? So that's an important piece of it.
No, I just suggest probably what I will do is I will just take these across whole and do an edit version, a compounded edit version, which I'll then put up for consideration with the rest of the website material, rather than mess with these documents as they stand.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, there's the long form and then the short form, and I don't want to lose the long form content in the process of trying to get to the short form. And also pictures. Again, anything that we can say in pictures is probably better to say in pictures than in words. So we might have to think about that too.
That's great, Roy. So actually, for each of these 6 or 7 services, I will add a picture too, so you get at least an idea what do we mean by this. That always looks good in the text. And you're right, since this is this is a protocol thing, the delegate protocol. Let's keep that together, and maybe that's a separate document later. We can convert that into a PDF file, for example, to send that to the groups and organizations who are interested in working with us, right? And then there's the web copy part, right? Which is, I always, put too much content in there. And I know once it's on the website, you really want to reduce it to the bare minimum, because people don't want to read 10 minutes, 15 minutes of text on the website before they understand what's going on here, what is the service we're offering. So yeah, that's great. Love that suggestion. Okay, so that's in terms of web content publishing, right? So
Make one comment on this, Joachim. Lovely stuff. The thought I have is that in terms of what people entering CAS would be interested in, items 3, 4, 5, 6 are the sort of required vehicle. It's the one that says, listen, we've got the bases covered. You will get collaborative this, that, and the other, right? You'll get the package. Why is ours different? Why is this a step ahead? Because of network skills mapping and holonic mapping, etc. So it's sort of, these would come very effectively as wrappers, but first 2 in the list, they run the risk of dispersing attention rather than attracting it, I think. I just think it'd be better to have them as the follow-up than the lead.
Sure. Yeah, we can reorganize that and de-emphasize this a bit. You're right.
No de-emphasize, but order of. Emphasis very strong, very fucking strong.
I know, that's differentiating us, right?
That's the unique selling proposition. No sale.
There's your USB. We'll write it strong. Yeah, you've got all this basic stuff. Now get the real stuff.
Yeah, why this is magic.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely good call there, Michael. I'd do on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is a joint effort here. Let me put the link here in the chat so you can see it. That's the link to this part 3 protocol. And on top, you can see the other 2 links. Part 2 is here and part 1 is here. Right?
Thank you. Thank you.
And for anyone who hasn't seen that on the website yet, so if you go to diglife.coop, so the idea is, here's the portal, right? And as a member, you get to see your domains up here, these squares. Each square represents a domain, which corresponds to a Mattermost domain, obviously, right? So here's open learning, here's operations projects, and here's a view on all of them. And then these services, these 6 services, you hover over that thing. That's a new thing on the right side here, this yellow thing, which pops out these 6 services, right? And I mean, that's why I have it in that order too, because they correspond again to the holonic map, the network map, the channels for the conversations at Mattermost, the Google Calendar, the Google Drive for the folders, and then the notes. So you can click on any of them and it opens up the corresponding service, right? So if you see this as a service here to view your organization, and if you're a member of multiple organizations, what I like is that you can actually go across them now. So you can click directly on the next domain that you're a member of, and it goes into that one, right? And you can drill down and see what's going on in this domain. And if you click on all, you can actually see the full picture. And that's where I want to get into, the more organizations we have, the bigger this picture gets, right? And then the more attractive it becomes for members to look at other domains, right? What are these guys doing over here? What are the important channels they have, right? And then if you have access, there's another access level here, right? So if you have access, they can click on any of these domains and it brings them then a level deeper into the conversation, right? So this is where you have, in this example, help desk, right? So now you're inside the conversation. But at any time you can come back out of this and then go back to the map. It stays at the all level, right? And you can look around into other domains. So that's the idea here, right? So 6 basic services, they're kind of permanent. They're there for you. And it's going to be around your map, your network map, you know, even the members you see, that should be the ones reflected in your domain, right? Not in other domains. But you can look, of course, into all, which gives you a picture of all of you guys, right? How we are all connected. But then, you know, look into channels. This should be then the channels for your domain, the calendar for your domain, the folder for your domain, and the notepads for your domain. So all compact and all customized for your stuff. And if you want to see all of them, of course, you can still do that. Okay.
This is Joachim's domain. Not everybody gets 455 cards. Excuse me.
All right, let me stop here. And then Roy, let's switch gear and go a little bit into the newsletter process, right? You've set up a new process now, including you know, a way how it might work in CiviCRM, and a corresponding, you know, editable document that we can share and come up with topics for each week. So how is this going to work?
Okay, so two distinctions to be clear about. I will just share my screen now. I'm taking an imperfect. Hopefully, you can see that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, as we say here, this is the week note structure, right? Now, the week note is what it says. It is a note of what is happening in DigLife during the week and in other domains that we're interested in that may or may not think. Now, the idea behind this is to fill in between a full-blown newsletter, which would go out irregularly or as and when needed and be much more detailed, and to maintain engagement on an ongoing basis with the full membership, something that arrives in their mailbox either beginning or end of the week, and it just is a quick, dirty insight into things that we've done, things that have happened, no more than 5 points on each, right? At the moment, these are being scraped from just basically from the announcements channels, anything that I happen to see that kind of catches my eye. It's a very informal process. It would be great to turn it into something a bit more formal, particularly as the various channels actually get going. It would be great to have, you know, not something every week, but enough to make up 3, 4, maybe 5 points from DigLife in this. So it's not a newsletter, it's just a quick touch base. And the other thing is to possibly pull in friends, relatives, whoever, and anybody else we think that's interesting in this space. At the moment, that's what I'm doing for the Twitter feeds, same sort of thing. So that's it. At the moment, it's being put together here. This is the root. It's a CodeMD document. Unfortunately, in order to get the HTML version out there, it's got to be put together in CiviCRM. I've only just put together the first one this morning. Graham and I have spent some time playing around with various Civi things, but ideally it would be great if we can automate this in some way or other. But the point to stress is that this is a quick, dirty, informative way of keeping in touch with the membership, so they don't have to, so there's something coming in regularly. And it's fairly easy to do because I'm already collating material for the Twitter feed. So it's a tiny expansion on that. So I would just like to note anybody. Earlier on, I suggested to Robert that he dropped anything of his into the communications channel, and then of course Christina reminded me of the fact that that's actually a closed channel. So we might have to come a way of getting around that one. But that's basically the idea of that. The newsletter at this stage is probably as was at the beginning of the month, or will be when we need to have the next newsletter go out. So just a subtle distinction between the two. One, quick and dirty, hopefully not too dirty, hopefully exciting and engaging, and lots of interesting things in it that everybody gets on a regular basis to remind them that, yeah, they're a member of Dig Life if they're not involved in day-to-day and sort of specific projects.
Is there hashtags that we should use for things?
Well, if you just use the same, I mean, hashtag share is fine, Jim. Yep. Sorry, I should have said, yep. Hashtag share, because that is basically the same place. Get the stuff for Twitter as well. So it all comes from the same place. And then possibly, Rackham, I think we've talked about this before, but Wallabang down the line would be another source.
I like that. Yeah, that's, you know, this whole thing could become another sort of service, right? Let's call it news service, let's say, right? And then what we could do is just add it to our list of services, and then we could have a simple interface, say with the cards, and say, here are the next newsletters, here's the next weekly, here's the next client-based newsletter, whatever it is, right? And you as a member can actually jump in there, right? So this could be, you know, you showed the CodeMD there, which is an easy way to just provide some content, right? Update that, you can collaborate on this, you can co-create that document, but make it available as a service to all members, right, who participate. For your domain, and if you want to go across domain, you can see all of them if you want to, right? So I can see this becomes a really nice service. And also together with Wallaback stuff, that goes into interesting articles and what we thought about the reflections the collective has on the articles, right? And then snippets out of that conversation and put that also into this newsletter, whatever format it takes, right? Depends on the organization, depends on the groups who want to distribute this kind of information. So yeah, let me think about this a little bit more, because now we have the beginnings of a protocol here, obviously, right? Like share, that's a part of it, and putting that out as a service. And then we have the tool set behind that. You know, so there's a CiviCRM campaign management tool where you can actually tap into the lists. And hopefully, I'm not sure yet, but I assume these lists will be separated by the organization, right? So you as a Bateson Institute group will have access to the Bateson Institute members, and then here's a way to send out that newsletters to your members only, right? So there needs to be some easy way to separate these lists, and maybe some other criteria in the future too, by topics of interest or whatever else we have about members. Okay, sounds cool. Anything else?
No, that's about it from me. In terms of, from what I know of Civi, Graham could speak more to that than I can, but it's fairly granular. So I think what you've just suggested should be more than doable.
Eric has a question in here about FedWiki. I can show that. If,
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. I'd like to see more.
okay. Okay. So FedWiki is really designed to support pattern languages. And part of this is in the name of pages, naming pages, and there's a lot of things to be worked out in terms of, there's a million different ways we could use this. But let's look at this. Oh, okay, well, I already did this. let me do it again. This is the Jim Scarver wiki, and this could be a topic name. It could be a topic name .jimscarver.wiki. Oh, this is open learning. Okay, well, then here I have the DigLife wiki.diglife.coop, and I see I collected some links here on the welcome page and a little description. Now, if I click on the little wiki down here, I get to edit it, and it will show me the page history and a bunch of other stuff. And you can see the lock here, which means I'm logged in. If you want to edit, you can log in, and if you can't log in, you just click on the open lock and you log in with your Google account. Right now, we're going to change that at some point, hopefully, to use your Mattermost identity. But if I look over here, well, let's see. That's wiki.diglife. That's Jim Scarver Open Learning. Let me go to Jim Scarver DigLife. I have created a Jim Scarver site on both, just for, oops, what happened here? JimScarver.cc. .co-op. No, I don't want Jim Scarver. Oh yes, I do want Jim Scarver. Okay, I can see Jim Scarver here. I have another version of the page here, but it doesn't have all these. It doesn't have all these links on it. So I can go over here and oops, put this page over on the wiki. I was going to show that nice and easy for you. Wiki.diglife.coop. And I want one of these to be Jim Scarver. So you have a personal wiki where you do work. Oh. Okay, so the Jim Scarver one here doesn't have all those links that I added. So if I take this page here and go over to here and put it in the gray area here or between visitors, I can start moving stuff around here. Let's see, move the hard wiki. And I gotta, in order to edit, I have to click on the edit. So I can rearrange these things if I want. Now the yellow margin shows that this page isn't really being saved here yet. But I can take I can take this page now and I can fork the flag here. I can fork this page. And I'm signed in, I'm editing. Oh boy. Well, as you can see, I'm not that so with it yet. I'm just getting started. It's easy to go in here and add links and organize them, and then I can see within my local area here, I can see the recent changes, and if I look at the colors here, tell me which wiki, I can look at what wiki the change was on, and I can pick up changes that I want to get. Now let's see. This is so this is the one here, and it's blue. And once it's not yellow this time, it's blue. I'll claim it. Okay, so I claimed the page, I thought. It's still yellow. Okay, I don't know if you can help, Robert. But,
Well, at a glance, it looks like you weren't signed in. The lock was still locked in the bottom corner.
oh, yeah, I was sort of reading that wrong. I was reading it that when it was locked, I was signed in.
Yeah, that's, I guess, some of the little interface issues with FedWiki is whether that little lock is locked or unlocked, or whether the little wiki has a check beside it or not for editing or not editing. It's kind of a really subtle, I don't know, not obviously not super intuitive.
And I've added some verbiage here right in the beginning about that. But as you can see, it needs to be even a little more clear for people to edit. Okay, I think that I log in. Then
yeah, he is. He's in the conference.
now I can fork the page. And
so where to here though?
it says it's forked. It didn't update this page. I don't know why. I had to reload to get it to show it. But so now I have the same page that was updated on this wiki. I have those updates over there. Okay, I could have just dragged over individual paragraphs.
You're going to send him to the orthopedist?
But
all right, because he's on
then I could make updates here, and I could claim them back over on the other side.
You're going to make an appointment?
Does that sort of answer your question, Eric?
Okay.
How this works?
Yeah, I'm getting a sense of how it works. Yeah, the more I see it, the better I understand it. But like, say you're just starting from scratch and editing, like, does it give you a toolbox of like bold and fonts or anything like that?
No.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I'm wondering, is it HTML that you're really writing in?
You can write in HTML.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If we look at well, where's something with formatting? How about here? How wiki? Okay.
Actually, Jim, if you go to the bottom and hit the plus sign, it shows all the different formats and types of things you can create. One is Markdown, one is HTML. But I think the little plus sign beside the flag, hit that. That just creates a little box for you to see all the different types of things on our server that you can create. So you can, you can add videos, you can add Markdown, and each type has like a little. On Windows, if you hit Alt-I while you're editing, it'll pull up a little pane to the right and explain that type of markup, like all the different features that are available with it. Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of different types, and Federated Wiki is very pluggable, and there's lots of plugins, so we haven't brought them all in, but there's lots of other ones that let you do some interesting drag and drop things, like David Boville's created one where you can drag a Wikipedia link and just drop it in, and it'll pull in all the content like at the top of it as like a starting point for a wiki page that you want to start writing. So this is just the beginning. We basically just got this server up and running, and sort of we can take it further from here.
Right. It looks like Jim has already some fun there. Besides hundreds of tabs, now you have hundreds of wiki pages and icons. Don't get lost, Jim.
And you can hit the browser back key or the back arrow to go back to get rid of all those extra windows.
Yeah, you'll notice as you're clicking links, it just keeps going to the right and it keeps extending your URL.
And this Start Playing Wiki here could not, oh no, happened again. Couldn't find the page. I don't know why we had that happen.
Yeah. Like, is this your personal copy of the Wiki DigiLife Co-op? Then maybe that's why you can't find it.
Yeah, it could be. Okay, go over here. Okay, you can start on this long chain of pages. First floor lobby, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, and you can go back.
Yeah, is there horizontal scrolling backwards?
Yeah, if you hit the left and right keys, it'll move rather than hitting the back button and actually deleting the pages, because you're effectively changing the URL and just sort of going back to where you used to be.
Right.
You can keep them all open, and there's actually a whole bunch of keyboard shortcuts. I think if you hold Shift or Control, I forget, while you're opening a link, it'll, instead of opening it on the far right, it'll open it on the immediate right to wherever you currently are. So I don't know, there's lots of little hidden, pretty hidden things that let you use it more effectively.
You remember what the Shift does?
Well, Shift does a whole bunch of things, depending on if you're clicking links or hovering over. So the neat thing is each little item, each little paragraph is technically a little JSON object. If you scroll to the bottom of any page, there's a JSON link that lets you open the contents of that page as a sort of one big JSON object. And yeah, that's I think a part of why it works really well with that, because truthfully, all it FedWiki is a big pile of JSON objects, and so there is really no backend. It's just a folder structure of JSON objects that are there. So it's pretty easy to sort of serve that on like a serverless or like no backend style web application.
And it basically has a record of the edits here, and so you can trace what was done. And the data, you can mix data in here as well, which is, I guess, used by some of the plugins to make visualizations and things of the data.
Yeah, one thing, Chris.
I'm thinking that the wiki.diglife.coop site primarily will try to make it a gentle introduction to how to FedWiki. And I'm hoping Christine comes on board with that, and maybe some other people will come on. I'd like to do some video recordings of onboarding people onto it while they talk out loud as to what their experience is. And this is the way we did research at NJIT on our user interfaces, and it was very effective in creating a self-evident interface that people could use.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
More to explore, Jim. More to explore. It's interesting. I still like to see, a very good use case for that. Especially Eric, for you, if there's something in the educational context, right, that helps create students, their own, learning experience, or some coursework outline or something, right, that makes it pretty straightforward as a use case for, a wiki-based environment, a structured environment. That would be good if we can make that connection, at some point.
If every student forked an assignment, for example,
Yeah.
then you could go back in the history and see each student's individual, version of it.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah, I still want to compare a Beaker browser to this, and like I made a suggestion to Paul, who maintains Beaker browser, to the issue that you talked about, where once you fork a page, you don't get notified of updates to it by the original author. So he says that he wants to get there. It's going to take time, but that would be a really game changer. It would be like GitHub for content.
Yeah, basically, the recent items plugin, recent update plugin could be updated to just give you a better report of what's been changed. Of course, it has to be in your neighborhood. So you need to put a page of each student in your neighborhood so that you get the recent changes of each student.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I think the UI could be better, but we'll figure it out over time.
Yeah.
For now, let's just play with it and see where it goes.
I assume that version uses the bigger browser. How else is it?
Well, the DAT is the protocol, so it's probably just running FedWiki over the DAT protocol. But yeah, we'll look into it. I just don't have the time right now. But,
right.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I have to go at 1. But so I guess if people want to just go around and give comments on what they've seen, that might be helpful.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that real quick. I already said, for me, it would be interesting to see that in the context of an actual use case, right? Educational would be interesting. Could be a use case for another corporation as a service tool. Could be in the publishing arena. Is that tying into some web publishing, book publishing, ebook publishing space where you have highly structured content? Right, if that enables this kind of process, that would be very helpful. Things like that. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just like to say this is lovely. A rich set of tools all coming to some form of convergence just when I need them, just when I want them. Just when I'm about to start a self-educating participative inquiry process on a very interesting platform called Dig Life Co-op. So I'm really pleased. I'm just a little confused with the options. I'm going to take a little while to work them through, but man, this is good stuff. And I think we're just about to come out of the Community Currency College. It's already a team on the net, and I'm just about to start pushing the boat out, and it needs this sort of documentation and interactive editing and permanence and cross-linking and God knows what. So
Let me
I'm
know what
really
domain
delighted.
to add for you, Michael.
I'm sorry?
Let me know what domain to add for you, Michael.
OM, I think, OM dot.
That what? No, I
Big
mean,
life dot. What? We'll talk, Jim. We got to talk. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
yeah,
All
you
right,
you can just type om.wiki.biglife.coop and you got it. You got to claim it. Just read the
claim it while it's hot. Okay, I want to spend last couple of minutes here. Eric, you have to drop off here, so feel free. Just go over one more topic I wanted to share with you guys today, which is the sign-up process for the CAS, for the Corporation as a Service model. So here's an example, and I'm using Capra Course as the first, since it's the first organization that's interested in working with us. So this would be sort of the experience for new members coming on board, right? It starts with this box here, which is submitting the member information and the payment. And this is what Graham has put together in his form, the WordPress form, where you go in and just fill out the form, and then you can actually, let me see if I can find it. In operations CAS, did you put it there? He might have shared it somewhere else. No, not this one. Maybe somewhere else. Okay. So that's the first box, right? Filling in the payment information. After that, what happens to a new member, right? So this obviously should go into receiving the sign-up link to Mattermost and the portal. So they can come directly from there, just as it is today, right? So they get an email notification from the CRM system in that case, with a quick introduction of welcoming the new member and then engaging in the first conversation on Mattermost, right? So receiving the sign-up link, which brings the member to this welcome channel on Mattermost. And here's an important distinction. So this welcome will not go to the DigLife welcome channel, but to the channel they belong to, right? To the organization they belong to. So if that's, in this case, the Capra Course members, obviously they need to go to a Capra Course sign-up page, because that's where they come from, and they want to continue the conversation in our collective, but still within the context of the Capra Course, right? So it's their sign-up page. It's a link to their Mattermost space, and the portal is already built in a way so that actually it personalizes to your own domain, right? To your own organization. And then joining that welcome channel on the Capra Course tile, right? So that's the domain, and then you can begin the conversation. So something like this, needs to be very streamlined to make it easy for new members to get on board. And then obviously once you're there, and you get to know the other members there, then all the other services you can explore, right? The portal services that I mentioned earlier, the 6, 7, 8 services that they can then start using right out of the box in their context, right? So in their domain. And then after that, I think then they begin to look around and say, oh, there are other organizations too here, right? One of the questions we have is still, is that part of an additional service fee we would offer? So this would be the $10 you join. Here you get access to your Mattermost domain, and then you can start the conversation and you can use the services for $10 a year. The other thing is we could, and that's Graham's thinking here, ask the organization to say, do they want additional fees charged for their organization, right? And then go through the same process, let's say, and then the $10 would be for their organization, right? That's it. If they need to see, or if they need to join another organization, then it's a similar process again. It repeats again for that organization, right? So that's to be determined. We don't know yet what the best best way. So anybody who has thoughts on that, we can look how we design the process. But from the get-go, I want to make that as simple as possible, right? So there's a single form to fill out, the link you receive, and then the conversation you can start in the context, so you can see only the stuff that you're concerned with, right? And that goes even down to, you can say, let's say I'm in, let's say the open learning domain, right? So this here gets me into open learning. This is only the open learning structure that currently exists, right? And it would only show the, let's say, the open learning CodeMD snippets. Actually, none of them in here. But you could also go and customize that further to the ones that you participated in. Let me show you how that looks like. So here's, there's this button up here where you can see my services. So if I turn that off, you notice there are more cards visible now. And that's because there are other cards where I'm not directly involved in the editing process. So you see there's this avatar on the bottom here, which shows you that I'm involved in the editing part. And if I turn that on, so it's only my stuff that I'm seeing here. So you can narrow this view as much as possible so you don't get overwhelmed with other information that's not relevant to you, right, in this whole sign-up process. So you see your Mattermost channel, the welcome channel, and the domains and channels you're involved with and the services you need, and this is it, right? And then you begin over time to look at others and look at other cards inside your own domain or look at other cards across your domain, right? So that's the thinking for the sign-up process. So this looks pretty good. I think what Graham is putting together here is pretty cool. And we need to still customize that around, this is the domain sign-up process, not the Mattermost overall, or the Mattermost, or the dig live sign-up process that we have today. So that's still work to do here. I want to stop here since I have Robert on the call here, and Michael, any questions you have at that point?
Well, just to say that, you know, I'd love to be a crash test dummy for this process. This is exactly what I'm wanting, the induction and setting it up. So let's talk about that later, Johnny.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I think I sort of was distracted in an inopportune moment when you were explaining the first step of sort of signing in. So would that be, or would it be sort of the sign up process would be through the typical, like the link I shared for Stacy above, like the join us, or would it be sort of a separately sort of more white labeled thing where, or maybe each partner creates their own sort of email sign up thing and then just sort of says, well, this person is now officially a member in some way. I think I missed a piece there.
Right.
Or would it use the current system, I think, which works for actually being able to accept funds and that sort of thing, if somebody wants that?
Right. Yeah, and that's a good question, Robert. To me, I think it needs to be, customized to the organization you're inviting, right? So if it's the Open Learning Commons space, you want to have some clear signal that if you sign up on that page, you are part of the Open Learning Commons, right? And you get some services that are kind of customized for your space. And by the way, you also have access to all of these other spaces or organizations if you want to, but that's secondary, right? So I do think there needs to be, some, but still we need, since it's we're collecting the payment, so we need to control that page, right? So it goes to whatever Graham came up with that links to CVCRM, right? So the data we capture on that page goes into CVCRM, right? And that's the foundation for the addition for the other services and the other notifications we're sending out, right? Including some newsletters down the line. If you want to use the news services thing, then you can tap into the same CVCRM mailing list, right, to send it out to your group, to your folks. So it's a kind of a standard process, yes, but somewhat customized to your organization, right? I don't know if that answers your question. Is-
Yeah. So, well, I don't have this worked out anyways for say the Open Learning Commons context, but yeah, I guess it could be done. I guess it could be done where like a partner have already been accepting membership funds in their own way for years or something. They already have some pre-existing system. They just want to maybe plug in and say, here's my list of emails and names of people that are already members, and I want to port in, say, like 100 people or something. And I guess at that point, it might look like maybe the money flows are coming in an alternative method where you might say, okay, you've got 100 people, we're going to need this little amount of fee, and then maybe that's made as like a one-time thing rather than routing all 100 people in through the sort of current dig life sort of flow of how it works.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some alternative ways to work with these organizations. You're right, and I mean, like the Capra course, they already have, of course, their own ways of capturing their not membership fees, but course fees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sign up there and you pay there, right? Using their systems, not our systems, obviously. But I have to say they were okay to say a subset of the Capra course members, they'd be willing to, sign up again for this space. And then we collect another $10, which they said was okay to do that through our system then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there could be an agreement too at some point we have with the Capra course folks to say, we allow 500 members, for that amount. If you want to pay that directly from your payment system to us, that's fine too. We want to be flexible here, of course.
And actually, I guess I have two questions around that. I guess maybe this is evolving. We don't have clear answers, but like in terms of a per member cost, I guess we were just assuming, if you just become a Dig Life member, then it's kind of counts anyways or something like that. But I'm wondering if like at least for the Open Learning Commons stuff, I want to also play with if somebody just wants to join up and maybe they don't have that money just yet, or maybe somebody else wants to sponsor them, or that there's sort of like creative other ways that I guess I'm just curious to know sort of if there was like a 500 group person, or like have we been thinking of sort of like bulk costs and that sort of thing.
One thing to recognize here is sort of the same as the issue about data as a market commodity that Philip's talking about, like when you say it's so many cents a year that Facebook makes off it and you should sell it to them, and that's a very small part of the value of the data. Its value is much greater than those sort of market considerations. Same sort of thing here. The value that a new community brings to the collective by coming in is vastly more than the sort of we can charge them $5 each or something, That's going back to the data as commodity rather than data as creative. So I'm convinced that we'll find ways to induct with other communities such that they're just all augmenting the common capital of that ecosystem, totally handling the running costs. The running costs are going to be significantly trivial in this sort of process. The staffing and evolution costs are going to be the thing we got to watch for.
One of the things I've been thinking is, I mean, obviously we want to bring groups in. We want to get this going. Now, I think that we should consider that we have stewards like yourself and like Robert and myself who want to bring in organizations and are going to facilitate those ourselves, so to speak, and we can consider the work and time and effort that a steward does, entitling them to some amount of services for the organizations that they're bringing in.
Yeah, quid pro quo sort of thing. But you know, certainly no free rides.
Yeah.
But don't cripple the thing with costings.
Yeah, well, that was sort of what I was thinking was like, well, I only have a sort of surface level understanding of different mutual credit systems, but that maybe if I'm a steward and I'm putting all this energy in and somebody that I want to join doesn't have the money to join, I could in some way say, hey, if you can sort of use a little bit of my, whatever you want to call it, currency in this system to hop in, and I'll send you my invite link, and we can save that as kind of like metadata that, oh, Robert used a bit of his, I don't even know what to call it, well, I guess in some sense a community currency to sort of vouch for this person or invite them in, and then that's sort of a piece of metadata we can track and sort of almost like value accounting or sort of
exactly that,
keeping a list of things.
The term I'm trying to go for is common currency, because these sort of mutual credit balances, which are individual behaviors, as a collective, they work because they work in commons. So I'm sort of trying to brand up common currency as community currency, collaborative currencies, you know. So yeah, this is perfect. It's just exactly the package, Robert. Everybody's got stuff to offer in various ways. In the emergence of a collective, people bring with their offerings. Some of them are bringing their services and their functions, others are bringing sort of promises or commitments to contribute at a later stage. And that's a very rich vein. That's much more than per capita.
Yeah, and I guess two things. In one sense, the whole value of Facebook is their network effects, but also the communities that are on there. So it'll be the same in our case. The value here is the community that we grow, not exactly the like pile of money we throw into a pot somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
But I guess to say that also, at some point, some of that other forms of capital needs to flow into some currency that'll pay for the server costs. And
you need
just make sure we have a
change space where some of the harder elements can be directly converted to cash. And that's another part of the package.
Right. So Robert, that's right. So there's the hard cash, the server costs, but more importantly, and I think Michael, you alluded to that a bit, it's the different roles. You know,
yes, the people who do things.
And I think we're starting also to see, you know, there's some roles coming out of our organization right now. You can see this list of plain roles here put together. Here's stewards is a plain role, right? And that's coming out of an operations side of things. So to me, roles have a location and they have a description, right? So like a name for that, be that graphic designer or steward, right? As a name. And then we can begin to anticipate, okay, what's the capacity we actually need inside this model to support all these different activities, right? And to me, the difference between a role and a job here is you can have partial roles, right? When we see we need one full-time person in the steward role, doesn't mean it's a single person, right? It means I can be Michael doing an hour of work, you know, a week working in that role, can be Robert doing 50% of his work in that steward role, right? But the thing is, it does need to add up, right? So if you recognize, oh, we're below capacity here, 0%, nobody in steward role, we're in trouble, right? So we need some of these critical support functions to get this going. And then back to your other thought, Michael, now how do you create this community commons? Because of these roles here, they're location-based, will also pop up in other organizations, right? So they have a similar set of roles, right?
Yep.
And in such, you can see that you as a, say, graphic designer in operations can take on another fraction of a role in another organization as a graphic designer, right? And then you get into, well, how do you pay each other, right? You don't have to go through the hard currency loop here. You can actually say, okay, I help you out, you help me out in this capacity.
Offsets. Right? Yep, exactly.
Within the organizations that shared that kind of role, right? So there's a lot of stuff we can enable just by recognizing what these roles are and having people jumping into this. It's a small exercise to me, right? To say, you know, here's an example of some illustrative roles here, right? I can be a graphic designer, I can be in tech support, system admin, web developer in certain hours per role, which translates into this kind of capacity I'm filling myself up, you know, for Dig Live. But to me, the advantage of a role is they can be fairly stable, right? So I can be a graphic designer in public engagement for a while, right? Before that changes, right? I don't have to, this is
My
not
system is at the moment. Am I still here? Are you still there? Something is frozen.
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
You're frozen, Michael. Now the smile's back. You're in back. Okay. Right. So as I was saying, you know, the roles are fairly stable. So you can be in the graphic designer role for this location for a while before that even changes, right? So you can do like a couple of months, you know, be in that role, get rewarded for a couple of months in that role, right? Before you move on, or split this up into other roles that you want to do, right? So there's enormous flexibility with that kind of model here, and it adjusts to your skill sets, right? So whatever you can do to support others, that you can break up your role, you know, your what you do for the collective into all these different branches. Okay, I'll stop here. We're way over time. Sorry about that. Okay, let's wrap up. Anything else?
I guess the talk time includes some kind of Zoom or big blue button, or do we have a video as part of our CAS service?
Okay, that's a great question, Jim. My thinking on this currently is no. They can use talk time, yes, but you put in your own Zoom link there or your own video conferencing link, whatever you want to use. So you can benefit from your own account and use the software, you know, for shared services and the other good stuff. But it's still yours because Zoom is not yet in the equation. We don't have an enterprise account. We can't scale that at this point. Big Blue Button is, I think, a good offering for ad hoc conversations inside channels, right? So if you have your work team there, you want to start a quick conversation here, that's great. And we should, Robert, put yours, you know, don't want you to pay for this stuff and then make that part of the service offering too here, right? So you have that ad hoc capacity. But having played with Big Blue Button, you know, Zoom is still, you know, quite ahead, I think, for large group video conferencing calls. So I believe they come at, you know, they be at par at some point here. But still, I think Zoom is probably the default video conferencing tools for these teams. And we would not make that part of the service offering unless we figure out an enterprise license or charge them. I don't know yet. Right?
I think
we get them to join us.
Sorry, I interrupted, but I think that has to be addressed. That video can be part of this that they supply, or something, because it just seems to be so essential to have that for groups that are distributed.
Yes, I agree, Jim. And the easy way to do that is to say they have to sign up for their own Zoom account. Yeah. And then we can help them to embed that into the whole service offering, right? Mm-hmm. But we have their link, right? They have their link, and that's it. That's what they use with their host. You know, they have a host license. We have a host license, right? And they're welcome to use our Zoom calls, which is, of course, cool, because we're doing Dig Live related conversations like this one here, right? So we're using ours, of course. But there'll be hundreds of other conversations happening, and they cannot use then the same Dig Live Zoom account, obviously, right? So they use their Zoom account. In combination with some ad hoc things that we can do with Big Blue Button, right? So it's balancing it out. They don't have to use all Zoom things, but they can do these ad hoc conversations with Big Blue Button too. So I think, I'm not sure, Jim, if that is satisfying. I think, you know, it would. assuming they sign up for their own Zoom account, if they want to have good quality video conferencing calls, right, they'd be willing to do that. That's my assumption.
All right.
Yeah.
My
I'd-
nothing.
Sorry, yeah, Robert?
I was waiting to see. I think Jim asked if Michael still had something, but I was going to say, yeah, it interests me. It definitely interests me to move the payment of Big Blue Button over into, I guess, this sort of shared pool of resources. Because yeah, I think it's just been an experiment so far, and it has incurred some costs. And I'm sort of now wondering whether it's worth it to keep it going. Though I am super interested in actually testing it out with larger groups. I haven't updated to the latest beta, but I know that they're working on it, and it has some neat affordances, like Jim said, where we get to record our own videos, and it's done in the cloud type way, which is kind of nice actually. It's kind of nice when you're recording to the cloud on Zoom that even the host can drop off and it's still safe, it's still going. And then also the recordings, it packages them up really nice, so you can kind of scroll through the history, and not only are you scrolling the video, you're scrolling the text chat, and it also has an inbuilt shared text thing, I think, which is Etherpad or something. So there's a lot of cool things there, and that it's so deeply integrated with Mattermost too that yeah, I wouldn't want to give up on that experiment just because kind of we don't. Yeah. So yeah.
How much is involved, Robert? What's the number?
Well, I think last I looked, like, actually, I don't know why. Maybe that's the other thing. I have no feedback on how many people are actually using it. Who knows if people are like clicking that button? And I know it gave
the cost I'm talking about, Robert. What's the money required?
Oh, well, that's what I mean. I'm assuming the server, depending on how much burden you're putting on it, it costs more. But I think about so far, I'd have to look, but somewhere in like $50 a month or something like that. But I don't know. I just sort of just threw up a server and to get it going and trying it. So I might not be optimized. Maybe it could run on something lighter weight, but I'm guessing Big Blue Button has higher demands than like a Mattermost, which is just some text flying around rather than video stuff.
Yeah, so it's comparable to
When you're going to upgrade, I would put it on a $20 a month machine and see what the load is. If you have to make it bigger, you can always make it bigger.
Yeah, we can start there, Jim. You're right. And I mean, the good news is this is a shared video conferencing system. This is not like Zoom, where you have one license, end of story. You can't run multiple conferences at the same time, right? Here you can, right? It doesn't really matter unless the server capacity goes down and you can't support so many parallel conversations anymore. But yeah, it's $20, maybe $40. I think, Robert, the numbers were more on the $40, so for a little bit more capacity on the server, which is a cost we can add right now. I think it's not a problem, but it's compare that also to Cloud Run, right? This is also $40, for 10, 20 applications versus video conferencing that requires some more support, right? Single application. But certainly doable and certainly important, obviously, for these CAS groups, organizations who want to have that kind of conferencing capability.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to note is that in terms of expanding capacity, something that I had set up with the Holochain team was we had multiple Zoom accounts, and that sort of just kept track of the host keys for each. And actually, I just made the host keys all the same for each, so you almost didn't notice you were using a different Zoom room. You would just sort of claim host, and it just felt like one big swarm of Zoom accounts, although it was, because it's actually cheaper to make unique pro accounts rather than making a team account until you get up to a certain level, and then all of a sudden, oh, okay, now it makes more sense to make a full team account on there. So we could look at doing that as well, and potentially even, well, they were using G Suite, which made some things like bookable, resources bookable. So we actually used a booking system to book off we actually named the rooms different colors. So there was like the teal room and the yellow room and that sort of thing. And you could book them. And when it was booked, then obviously that would show up in the calendar. Each resource had a calendar its own unique calendar to it, so you could see when it was booked and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's some options there. Although that was G Suite, which obviously probably we're allergic to.
I mean, we could even do that on our own here, because they have a great API, and I tried that out. It's very easy to access, and then you can embed it into the portal too as a sort of a card-based interface, showing the different conversations, Zoom calls coming up, and you can join them that way, right? Or book something to make that a shared resource. Yeah, there's a lot to explore, and once we get into more group licensing schemes, then we need to have a corresponding interface, that more people can use that, of course. Can do. Put it on the to-do list.
And the organization may be using a personal account. There's no reason why they couldn't use that.
Yeah, that's how I want them to get started. Exactly. Use it as long as they need it, until we get to a shared account, or if they want to use Big Blue Button on our shared box, then that'd be okay too.
Yeah, and I should likely look into, or maybe others could help, like how you can track the actual usage of Big Blue Button, because it would be nice, as if we are trying to use it, to see like just how much it's being used. Maybe that you can track sort of what channel created a room, and maybe there's just so we know, is it actually being used, and then maybe we could turn it on or off. Or then also it'd be interesting to actually put it through its paces, like intentionally over the next few months, and say like, let's try and have a 30-person Big Blue Button call or something like that, and see what happens.
Yeah, with the DigitalOcean interface, okay, you have to install their metrics thing in order to get a complete set of metrics. But we could do that sometime, so that we can watch the memory location, memory allocation. I mean, really, there's no reason not to just start a $10 one, and we can just look at the performance. We can have a meeting, look at the performance. Say if we're using 20% of the machine, well, we figure, if we're using more than 50% at any time, we can go up to a $40 machine or whatever. We can change the size anytime.
Right. But keep in mind, Jim, this is not a cloud-on app, so it does require some consistent upgrades, right? So you do need a role there, a person who is looking at the capacity, is looking at latest software upgrades, is there if that thing goes down, and to restart it, and all these good things behind it. Not like cloud-on.
Right.
I wonder if we can get Big Blue to play with us then, to look at us as a dedicated test case that they would love to see work very effectively. So can they give us sort of preferential service and support in recognition of our support of, it's a trade-off sort of deal.
Well, I can say when I was playing with upgrading one of the recent betas, I had to reach out to the founder of it, and he was sort of interested that we were doing it, and also interested that they want to find somebody that's kind of a Mattermost developer, because they're interested in pushing their integration further, although they don't have a connection there within the Mattermost team. And then there might be something interesting there if I follow back up and said, sort of just talk about what we're doing.
Attraction. A lot of
what we're doing. Yeah. Maybe even ask if they've looked at CloudDrawn, because who knows, maybe it wouldn't be that much to sort of package it up. I don't know what's involved there, but I think they're already doing Docker stuff. I'm not sure, but
That's cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll reach back out to the person I met within Big Blue Button.
In case they want to look at this further. But if they have Docker, I think that's a rather small step to commit to that. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Stacy, for staying so long. My goodness, that was very technical today. I'm so sorry.
Wait. No, I want to thank you. I'm really grateful that Eric invited me because some of you don't know me. I've just learned how to copy and paste. That being said, this actually, although I couldn't explain a lot of it, it really did give me a very good framework and is actually very helpful. And what I really feel from this is that this is the first group that, to me, I'm able to feel a sense that inclusion is really at the core of this. And so that's clear. So again, I appreciate being here. It helps to just be able to listen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is so nice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would like to see some more women here, though.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I was thinking that they should probably, we might want to host like a tech women trust conference or a open meeting, and hopefully try to draw more women in.
If you do that, let me know, because that's something I can help you. I'm not a tech person, but I know how to find them, the women.
Yeah. I guess the place to bring that up is at the Stewart's meeting on Friday, but I guess anytime I meant to bring that up with Laura. Christina. I did go. She could help set that up if she's into the idea.
Well, she's the one name that I've been told repeatedly, you have to meet Christina. So I guess I'll work on that.
Yeah, she's usually here. She's a regular at these meetings. Too bad you didn't meet her today.
And also we have Women of Dig Life. It's every Friday at 11 a.m. Maybe that's interesting for you too. They definitely have a conversation about technology, but a lot more about relationship building, membership building, community building, and all the good stuff.
That's in the calendar, right? I'm not sure if well, I don't know how it works, if it's an open calendar or like a members calendar, but would be something to look into sharing. I don't know if you've already joined up or not, Stacy, but we have a bunch of calendars that have events on it, of which Women of Dig Life is on that calendar. So at least you could see it in your calendar and track it and that sort of thing.
It conflicts with the experiments that I do with Tammy on Friday, but after this week, I might be able to come back and try. This week, there's something I need to do there. But again, I'm just happy to become acquainted, and I'm sure I will see you all again.
When you say Tammy there, is that Tammy Lee Mayer?
Yes.
Of course. Well, give him my regards, please.
I will. But this week, she's having Stephanie Rarick on, who is the Mutual Aid Network person. So I really wanted to be there for that.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.